Before we begin today's review, I feel like there's a wrong that I really need to right. As about 3 years ago, I reviewed R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour and described it as an insulting attempt to monopolise on a famous name. I said the characters were asinine, that some didn't even need to be there. I described the plot as cheap, generic, and full of holes. And then I watched Mostly Ghostly and realised that The Haunting Hour, in comparison, might just be Citizen Kane. Mostly Ghostly is... how do I explain it? It's the most bland and featureless thing in existence. It may literally be a piece of white bread, buried in a snowdrift, in the middle of the Antarctic, in the middle of a blizzard. That's the level of unremarkable crap that Mostly Ghostly is. At least with the bread you can ask, hey, how did this get here? But I don't want to know the answer to how this movie got here. I just want it gone. Banished from existence and back to the ninth circle of whatever horrific plane of infinite whiteness it came from. Because if this is truly a fateful adaptation of an R.L. Stine book, all I can assume is that someone is weekend at burning him around to keep collecting royalty checks. But, of course, the quicker I get this review done, the quicker I never have to deal with this movie again. So, let's look at Mostly Ghostly. Who lets the ghosts out? Right off the bat, I don't have much faith in this movie. They can't even spell the word tombs right. Truly, Times New Roman is the most terrifying font. So after opening credits, which are actually kind of creepy, showing a tunnel full of skeletons and whispering voices, we get the first look at our villain, Fears. Okay, I'm fine. I'm collected. I'm fine. Oh, honestly, despite the unintentionally hilarious entrance, which the film does multiple times, by the way, so get ready for that. Brian Stepanek is the highlight of this movie. It's like he already knows how bad this film is going to be, so he's decided, screw it, I'll take the Harold Zoid approach.
I got a part in a fancy DVD movie. It's only one line, but I'm gonna ham it up like you wouldn't believe.
Which isn't that surprising. I mean, he was Arwen in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, so play on, maestro, play on. Following that, we're introduced to our protagonist, Max, played by Sterling Beaumont, who is so irritating that Fears is able to perfectly imitate the audience's reaction. Seriously, best thing in the movie.
I must have forgot to say the magic words. From the light of earth, the dark descends. Should they return, that all depends.
Who is this mortal that dare utter those words?
Oh, don't worry, he'll say them again.
From the light of earth, the dark descends. Should they return, that all depends.
And again.
Light of earth, the dark descends.
And let's just say that by the end of the film, if that phrase doesn't make you go into a homicidal rage, you're a stronger man than I. Certainly stronger than that guy's spine was. Moving on, we're introduced to Max's family of cardboard Disney cast-offs. With his antagonistic brother Colin, played by Adam Hicks, who is more well known as Luther from Zeke and Luther, as well as Wen in Lemonade Mouth, which Wikipedia assures me is an actual Disney movie, and not a sex act involving water sports as I first thought. His sports-mad father, John, is played by David DeLuise, who's most well known from his time as the dad in Wizards of Waverly Place. Whereas to me, he'll always be known as Coop from Megasex LR. Megasex LR, the greatest giant robot cartoon ever made. And finally, his at times less than all their mother, played by Kim Rhodes, who played the mother in Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Though this movie probably has more dignity for her than the few guest appearances she made in Sweet Life on Deck. Getting on with the plot, Max goes into the basement and finds an odd scrap of paper.
Dog's fit. Don't you ever swallow? You're like Grandma on Thanksgiving.
Phrasing. Shut up!
Paranormal?
Kid, you're doing magic and you're telling me you don't know what the word paranormal means? Although, given some of the other scenes in this movie, he doesn't know what subtlety means either.
Am I a man or a mouse? I do like cheese.
Oh no, it's become super dark and scary. Except for the one huge light that's casting my shadow obviously on the wall behind me. Oh my god, it's a crappy CGI effect! Quickly, I must flee and immediately forget about what I just saw. Inside the creepy tunnel from the beginning, Fierce goes into a long expositional rant.
Children, please. I realize you are in eternal pain, but just try, please, to walk it off.
He does, however, make it really watchable.
Follow me.
This new dead zone for the Crystal Maze really is an odd direction for them to go. After having Fierce talking about them for the last few minutes, we finally get to meet Tara and Nikki. With Nikki being played by Luke Benwood, a recurring Disney Channel actor and possibly the third person in this movie who has both a filmography and discography to their name, and Tara is played by...
Of course. I recognize everything.
We're not sure. Are we black?
Yes, we are.
Then we're awake. But we're very puzzled.
Holy crap, a child actor who isn't white! I mean, in kids' films, it's like finding a unicorn. A unicorn that could sing and can dance and go on adventures with 5 other little... When did I start describing the cast of My Little Pony? Tara is played by Madison Pettis, and my apologies if I mispronounced the last name, who has popped up in various Disney productions, both good and bad, with shows like Phineas and Ferb, Lab Rats, and Cory in the House. Ah, Cory in the House. A show that said, let's take the 2 least charming characters from That's So Raven and give them their own show. So we get the usual, why won't anyone respond to us, before the 2 kids realise that they're actually ghosts.
We can't be ghosts. We are not ghosts.
And I actually have to agree. Because ghosts would not cast shadows on the ground. And can somebody talk to the head of lighting about why they've lit these kids like they're on the sun when they're supposed to be on a street in the middle of the night? The next morning, and not that you'd actually know it, given how little this movie transitions between days, Max finally tells his family about the handy saw.
Speaking of weird things, anybody hear mice scratching on the walls?
They aren't mice. That's what I was trying to tell you. A hand came through the basement wall.
Is this gonna be like one of those horror movies where we open the door and everything's normal and we think you're crazy, but then there really is a killer robot and the next morning you find me impaled on a weather vane? Is that what this is, Lisa?
From the light of Earth, the dark descends. Should they return, that all depends. Yeah, I did it!
So does Max realise that the magic that he's trying to do is not real? Because I'm kind of worried that what we're watching right now is a child slip into a delusional fantasy. So a ghostly Mrs. Butterworth shows up.
Oh, glory, glory, glory. Does anybody hear that?
For no real reason. I mean, I understand that they're trying to set up that Max can see ghosts, but there is another scene which kind of does that far better, so what's the point of this one? Max's journey to and into school hits the usual Disney hallmarks. There's a bully on the bus, a girl he likes that's way out of his league, and for no reason at all, an extended daydream sequence where the girl is his assistant in a magic act that defies all physics. So if the kid from Shelby was Jesus, and all he was able to do was walk through a chain link fence, what the hell does that make Max? I got it! It makes him Super Jesus! Max's bully pops up again to somehow show him an embarrassing video of him on an old flip phone, which goes absolutely nowhere. Just like the bully subplot and the girl subplot. So instead, let us move on to something that is going somewhere. Nikki and Tara entering Max's/their old house.
Over 9 minutes to go in the quarter, and they need to score on this drive. you!
Wow, with deliveries like that, you could almost give Michael Shannon a run for his money.
I will find him!
That clip will never not be funny to me.
Paranormal is the study of ghosts and ghostly matters. Some people have a real talent for it.
So if I studied Colin, it would be the study of not normal?
Well, someone had to laugh at that line. No, the audience didn't. So through more of Max's overacting, he meets the ghost kids and the ghost from earlier.
Glory. So you can see us?
Why, yes, he can. And I can see where the camera goes out of focus momentarily because a large amount of this film is shot as one continuous take, which, while impressive, has the side effect of making the film seem like not much is happening. No, wait, that's because nothing is happening. Showing off powers of speed and object removal, seriously, these guys are making a killing as movers, Tara and Nikki blackmail Max into helping them.
Blackmail is such an ugly word. I prefer extortion. The X makes it sound cool.
Great. All I wanted was to do magic. Now I've got ghosts. I should have stuck to raising hamsters.
Wait a minute, that noise.
I was gonna say let's split, but this is ridiculous.
Whoever told you that is funny is not looking out for your best interest.
Biz, oh, thank God, finally you're back.
Max Doyle. Where are they?
Okay, I will note that while Fears is a great villain, he's not too smart. As for the next hour of the movie, instead of hiding somewhere close to Max like he just did, he decides to leave him alone despite knowing that Max knows Tara and Nikki. Of course, it doesn't mean he still can't be shit your pants terrifying.
Next time, I'll tell them to make you feel the pain.
Ray has gone bye-bye, Egon. What have you got left?
Sorry, Venkman. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Back at home, Max's mom brings him a book that the audience is shown was written by Tara and Nikki's parents, which is the only time we see them for the entire movie. I mean, they don't even get a cursory, oh look, they're actually alive at the end. You know, like what Series of Unfortunate Events did for the TV show. Though, given that almost the entire cast changes in the sequel, maybe it was for the best. Oh yes, there's a sequel. 2 in fact, and we'll be getting to one of them later this month. The next morning, we find out that ghosts can apparently enter computers and the internet.
Whoa!
She is interfaced!
It's our mom and dad. The book mentions all these parapsychology websites, so I decided to go on the internet. No, I decided to go in the internet.
Let me try something.
So I decided to go on the internet. No, I decided to go in the internet.
Something is missing, but it's definitely now almost on par with a Disney TV show.
It's titled Transportation of Evil Paranormal Entities.
Paranormal entities? Like ghosts, vampires, and ghouls?
Oh my! And how exactly do you know that all of those things are paranormal when you didn't even know what the word meant until last night?
I really miss Mom and Dad.
Mickey. You been in a toilet?
Yeah.
Now it's on par with a Disney TV show. Max heads off for school while the cameraman must have fallen asleep as there is a zoom into nothing. While on the bus, Max's bullying plotline is resolved with Nikki and Tara helping him. And there must be something in the water because everyone now believes that Max truly has magic powers, including the girl he has a crush on, Tracy, played by Ali Lohan, who you may remember from such roles as Child at Airport and The Parent Trap, or Girl at Football Stands in Life Size. That's weird, both of those movies are Lindsay Lohan films. Yeah, I'm sure it's a coincidence. Oh, and Tracy is actually just volunteering to be Max's assistant, so he'll help her with homework. Given that this plotline goes nowhere, I'm not sure why they left it in.
I'll walk with you.
Yeah.
Max? I was looking for something.
Oh yes, so they could do more dumb jokes. Of course. Meanwhile, Nikki finds the tunnel in Max's house, whilst Fears infiltrates the school as Arwen from The Sweet Life. Not even kidding about that, he wears the janitor's overalls and everything. Also, he apparently has freezing powers. Man, life hits Sub-Zero hard after Mortal Kombat. Tara tries to warn Max that he needs to get to the tunnel instead of rehearsing his magic act, and ends up being kidnapped by Fears. In the only way that this movie could possibly think of.
Hey! Get down!
Movie, I don't even know whether to love you or to hate you, because that is at the same time the greatest and dumbest thing I've ever seen. I mean, he could have done anything. Anything. Like, wait until Tara left the room, or sent his minions after her, but no. He ran in, screaming like a crazy person, and picked her up. I am fascinated to know what he will do next.
Oh, I love that sound. His bicuspids look spectacular. We should take those out first.
We're gonna need another pair of pants and another chair.
Max tells Nikki the bad news, but resolves his courage to go into the tunnel and find out what Fears has been hiding.
Deep breath. The worst is behind you.
Wow, so this explains where all the budget went to. No wonder they have to do single take sequences, they can't afford the editor anymore. Due to the laws being inversed inside the tunnel, Max finds that Tara can see and hear him, but the other ghosts can't. How they wouldn't hear Tara talking loudly, however, is another question, but no one else in this film ever seems to question anyone for talking out loud to thin air, so why should this be any different? And speaking of unexplained things, they never do come up with a reason for why Max can see Tara and Nikki. In the books, they essentially go over that he is partially psychic, and that's why. Well, you might as well use Lydia's explanation from Beetlejuice.
It says, live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual.
Thank you, Miss Ryder. I look forward to seeing you in the new series of Stranger Things. Holy fuck, that ghost has predator vision! Quick, Max, run, cover yourself in mud before he takes your head for a trophy. Back outside, Max fills Nikki in on the plan, while Nikki continues to act like Casper, the blandest ghost. The blandest ghost I know. Before we get a lengthy montage of all the scenes that have happened in the movie. Yep, sure is interesting, seeing all these scenes we've already seen, with all this leading nowhere, because it's not like Max is figuring something out or anything.
Can I have a glass of water?
Oh, Fizz. Make everything better. And now I present to you the whitest dancing ever. Also, this song, only place it shows up in the entire movie, despite the fact it has the film's title in it. Well, unless of course you want to buy the soundtrack to the sequel, which also includes tracks like Scare Zone, Oh My, and Like to Party. Because when I think partying, I think R.L. Stine. A character we've never seen before appears to introduce Max on stage, and let me just check. Yep, she's a former Disney alumni, Sabrina Bryan, most well known for appearing in The Cheetah Girls. Wait a minute, The Cheetah Girls? So that means Sabrina Bryan was in a movie with Raymond Simone, who was in a TV series with Kyle Massey, who was in a TV series with Madison Batiste, who was in this movie with Sabrina Bryan, and oh my god!
Reality is an illusion, the universe is a hologram, buy gold, buy!
As Max comes onto stage, it quickly becomes apparent that he has no act, so gets Nikki to help him by moving stuff around. Which makes me wonder what Max would have done without Nikki's help, because given the rehearsal he had at the beginning of the movie, I somehow don't think this would have gone well. Thankfully, because we only have 10 minutes of the movie left, Fears appears once more.
In the light of Earth, the dark descends. Should they return, that all depends.
Why did you want to make an entrance like that, sir?
I am a showman.
Fears releases all the ghosts from the tunnel and the weakest copying of Ghostbusters you've ever seen, as we see someone apparently super important.
Mom, there's real ghosts out here.
Oh, honey, you know there's no such thing as ghosts.
Hey!
And why is she super important? Well, her name, Noah Cyrus, is on the box cover, so I can only assume. You don't think, right? They couldn't have, right? This movie could not have roped in a former Disney star's sister purely to put her name on the box cover to sell more copies of their DVD, right? I mean, that'd be like putting a character on the box cover who has little to nothing to do with the movie, and even during this last scene seems almost entirely forgotten about. But luckily, they are above that. Through the power of the ring that Tara gave him in the tunnel, Max learns the other half of the spell that he's constantly been saying throughout the movie, but finds it not quite enough on his own.
Come on, everybody! If you all just believe and clap very hard.
Well, are they clapping?
A few of them. Most of them are just changing the channel.
Don't worry. I've seen enough movies to know this is the part where the audience thinks it was all part of the show and loves it. Cue applause!
No, in true cliche fashion, everyone thinks it was part of the show. Because once again, something is definitely in these people's drinking water. With fears defeated, the three kids can head out on their next quest to find Nikki and Tara's parents. Or can they? Truly, his death would have been the worst thing this movie could do. So what did I think? Mostly Ghostly is a weird mix of good to middling actors and a subpar script, along with occasionally bizarre direction and editing, resulting in not an unwatchable movie, but a pretty uninteresting sit. Though I will note that the addition of relations to former Disney stars to help sell this movie is amazingly insulting, and is probably the worst thing about the film. While Brian Stepanek is great as the villain and tends to steal whatever scene he's in, Sterling Beaumont is just too over the top, preventing the few jokes that are actually funny from landing. And while the character of Tara seems well fleshed out, the same can't be said for Nikki. As from the beginning, it feels like the film has little for him to do other than be an exposition or mouthpiece between the scenes, or for any other dialogue that could have really been filled with Tara. Subplots are introduced and resolved without much thought or care, and the plot of the kids trying to find their parents is just left far too open, without even a hint of closure. Which, along with the reveal of Fears being still alive, is them sequel baiting as hard as we can. And yes, there would be a sequel, a full 6 years after this one came out. And we'll be looking at that a little later this month, but for now, I've been Tyas, this has been Faulty Family Films, and I'll see you next time.
I'm floating, I'm flying.